When you decide to start airbrushing for the first time, things might be a little awkward. And really, it's all about creating new muscle memory in how you apply the makeup with your fingers, your hands, your arms. And we have a couple of exercises that will help you along the way. So you're going to grab your airbrush, you're going to grab a little bit of airbrush makeup, and then we've got some exercises we'll show you how to do. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fill your airbrush with a little bit of makeup. You're going to attach this template to a wall or a mirror, and essentially you want it to be at the same level-ish as what a client would be when you are applying makeup. And then you're gonna wanna make sure that you adjust your airflow accordingly. I would recommend working with a lower air setting first and then getting used to a higher air setting after you've got the basics down. So we'll go ahead and adjust the lever or the knob. And on this sheet, I'm gonna shut this off for a second. On this sheet, you're seeing a smaller spot that would be more like, let's say, acne. And then the larger spots, possibly sunspots or age spots, some type of melasma or pigmentation. This is what spot treating is. When we cover and conceal in airbrush makeup, we really focus on very quick actions to just erase the spot first. And all you have to do is fill in the circle. That will mean you barely pull back on the trigger and you start very close to the paper, which would be about a ½ inch away. And as you move across this line, you're gonna get further away from the paper as the spot gets larger. And then as it gets smaller, you go closer to the paper. This is going to train your eye and train your muscle memory to be able to toggle on the trigger and move your airbrush closer and further away to your target. So you want to adjust your air pressure so that the makeup does spray cleanly from the airbrush. If it doesn't come out evenly like that, that's not even, you want to turn your air pressure up. So we'll go ahead and start over. And as we work across the line, we get further from the paper. And we get closer and closer and closer, further, further, further. Here's what we're learning here. How big is that circle coming out of the front of the airbrush? So when we're very close, we can really get detailed. But as we get further away, that circle increases. We're covering more surface area and it's a bit more diffused. And if you can make it all the way across each row without taking your finger off of the trigger, you're gonna be ready to go in no time. It's all about learning how to toggle. And remember, this is a dual action airbrush. So you're pushing down for airflow and pulling back for makeup. So once you've got those motions down and you can learn how to toggle back and forth on the trigger, you'll be set for the detailed work. Well, the cool thing is if you're working with the TEMPTU Air and our AirPod system, you can use the same exercise for that. We'll go ahead and start on low, get up close. I think it's a common misconception that the AirPods are not as precise as a traditional airbrush system. And I suppose right now I'm proving that wrong. So welcome to the episode of Mythbusters. And there we go. Again, we're just toggling very lightly on the trigger and moving away from the paper as our target gets smaller, or as it gets larger, and closer to the paper as it gets smaller. And again, not taking our finger off of that trigger, just toggling back and forth is going to allow us to have the most control over whichever system we're working with. The second exercise that you can use to help build that muscle memory is the squares exercise. So what we're going to do here is our goal is to fill in each square, remaining inside the lines as much as possible, and also being able to apply and blend the overall look of the makeup on the quote unquote skin, which in this case is white paper. So this is going to require us to be a little bit further away from the paper, and it's going to teach us how to create circles, and they need to be very controlled circles. So I'm going to show you first what not to do. You definitely don't want to just pull that trigger all the way back and work all over the place. That is actually what it would look like on the face. So our goal is to create a calm, controlled environment where we can overlap the circles, and we are essentially applying and blending the makeup in one action. And I really don't know how you could apply makeup any faster than this. Cool thing is, if you're working with our pod system, you can do the exact same exercises. I'm going to go ahead and turn the air pressure up to medium because this would emulate kind of the application of foundation to the face. We're going to be about 3 to 5 inches away from the paper. Start your overlapping circles, barely pulling back on the soft touch control. And your overlapping circles, you basically work across and then down and across the other way. And don't worry if when you first do this, you see some heavy spots. It's going to take you a second to develop that muscle memory. At least I can require that you don't do overlapping, messy circles. See the difference?